So after about a decade, one thing I've learned is that when it comes to debt, when it comes to any topic around finance and money, is that you never want to lie on any extreme. And what I mean is, for example, you never want to be someone that says, I will never go into debt no matter what. Or someone that says, I will always use other people's money as long as I can, okay? Because sometimes both extremes are just not good. What you really want to be is a reasonable person, a rational person, and a person that utilizes common sense. And neither of these three things are basically normal, okay? It's not something you come with, it's something you have to learn how to use, how to be rational, how to be how to use common sense. Because by the way, common sense is not common, because my common sense got me into a lot of problems in the early stages before I actually learned how to use money to benefit me. So this video, my big goal is to tell you exactly when is it okay to actually get into debt and when is it not okay to get into debt. But again, this is my opinion. This is what worked for me and hopefully can work for you. But if you like a spot, use it. If you don't like a spot, don't use it. But try things out and experiment, and based on your results, be willing to change your mind, because you might disagree with me, but then you might get stung and say, yo, I kind of don't want to do it again, okay? And that's fine. You can change your mind. It's normal to experiment and try different things out. And as always, guys, like this video and tap out also subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified. So the first thing is this. I want to read the sentence to you guys because this is actually pretty crazy, but it's basically, it is never okay to go into debt to buy things you need, and it is never okay to go into debt to buy things you don't need, okay? Now, this sounds like, Tommy, it sounds like you're saying it is never okay to go into debt for any reason whatsoever. And the truth is, no, that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is this. A lot of the times we have a need, and a need can turn into a want very easily. And here's what I mean, okay? Because rationally, as a person, we tend to justify getting things we need, but doing it in a way that those things we need turn into wants. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm a little stupid. So I need real life examples to make sense of these intelligent concepts, or whatever you actually want to call them, okay? So here's a very simple example. Tommy, I need a car. Tommy, I need presentable clothing. Tommy, I need an education. I need a skill. These are all true statements. These are things most people basically need. Now, how do you turn these things into wants? Well, here's what you do. I need a car. So I went ahead and bought me a $35,000 car I'm going to pay off in 5 years. What? I need presentable clothes. I went on a shopping spree on Macy's and got a store card, and now I'm paying that off. High interest rates. What? I need a skill. Went to college, got out with $35,000 in student loan debt, and I got the degree. Now I'm not using it. What? So how do you make sense of this? Because you do need these things, but you ended up actually turning them into wants. This happens whenever you need something, but you end up buying something or a version of it that you cannot afford. So now it's just basically a want. So here's what you should be doing, okay? I need a car. So I bought me a car I could afford to pay for in cash. This way I can save up to buy the car I eventually want. I need some clothes. By the way, I shopped at Goodwill, thrift stores, and basically at little discount stores or factories to basically just save money. I bought me a bunch of t-shirts for $1, $2, $5, $7, and so on, okay? This way it looks presentable, but it's not brand made stuff, okay? That's how you do that. I need a college degree. Instead of basically going out there and getting into a bunch of debt, I saved up some money. I went to community college. I got a trade instead. These are all options. My point is, guys, whenever debt is the first option, we tend to turn needs into wants. Whenever debt is not the first option, we tend to look for ways to get what we need in a way we can actually get it without the debt. So that should always be our first option. And then sometimes it is okay to go into debt to buy things we need, but we cannot afford to pay for in cash, in a sense. Okay, so what is that one thing that you basically need and you have to go into debt usually to be able to buy it? And that is basically not a car, it's not clothes, it's not college, it's not things. No, it's usually going to be a house. Now, here's one version of both extremes here. One extreme is, I don't believe in debt, so I'm going to pay for a house in cash. I'm going to spend 2 decades or a decade saving out to buy this home in cash. Or I'm going to buy a trailer for $5,000 and live in a parking lot, okay? I don't like that idea, and saving up for decades is very unlikely you're going to get there. It takes a lot of work to be able to save that money, to hit with inflation, see prices rise, and be able to keep saving and saving and saving while you're spending money on rent and rent and rent. One other extreme is saying, hey, I want to buy a home because I need shelter, which is true, but I'm going to buy the home the bank tells me I can afford. Thus, I'm going to basically have a loan for like 30 years. Again, you got to learn what your goals are and what the bank's goals basically are, okay? Because nothing is free in this life. Your goal is to own a home. The bank's goal is to have a customer and to have income come in to make profit. Thus, getting you on a hook for 30 years, that's what they want from you, okay? That's what they want. So, you should never, here's the rule, you should never buy a home you cannot afford to pay off in 15 years or less. And a home should not be more than a third of your monthly income, including shelter, well, not shelter, including the mortgage, PMI, taxes, insurance, maintenance, and everything else, okay? That is the rule. This way, when you buy a home and you have to borrow money to buy it, which is fine because it's so expensive, okay? So where we live, you can afford to pay this thing off as fast as you possibly can. So the only time to buy something that you cannot afford, okay, and go into debt to buy is usually just going to be, for example, when it comes to buying a home, because the options to not do that are so extreme, like renting for decades or moving to a remote place, but your income also goes down. They're so extreme to the point where you just have to be able to find something that is reasonable to be able to pay it off in 15 years or less, where it's no more than a third of your income. That is the rule. And sometimes that rule may not apply where you are, so thus you might have to be moving somewhere else or be content with renting for a while longer while you save up even more and more money for a decent down payment. That is the idea, and that is the core thing. So when you ask me, Tommy, okay, so it sounds like it is never okay to go into debt for any reason except to buy a house. That's basically the rule that I follow. Now, as far as, for example, when it comes to a car, there are so many options with cars. You can find cars for $500, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, okay? That's why it's not okay to go into debt for a car. When it comes to clothes, there are so many options that you don't need to go into debt to buy clothes or things. When it comes to, for example, education and skills, there are so many available options out there that you don't need to go into crazy debts to actually do it. But Tommy, I want to be a lawyer. That's true. That's fine, right? But what can you do in the meantime to save up and prepare yourself for a degree that costs so much money? That means community college, that means working, that means maybe getting another skill while you save up money to be able to do it. The idea that you want to do something doesn't mean you have to do it at this very moment. That's called delayed gratification. To be able to say, I want to be a lawyer or a doctor, it takes not a decade, it takes like 8 years to do it, a lot of money. Well, I'm going to spend the next 4 years just working and saving up for it, getting scholarships and everything else to be able to go into it without any debt. Or I'm going to work this skill right here to be able to have this employer pay for that degree, so this way I don't got to spend the money. That's the deal. Whenever there are so many options available, you can't justify going into debt to actually do it. That's my point. And just because you have to wait to do it doesn't mean, for example, it's a bad idea. Because whenever people say, hey, I'm going to go into debt because I don't want to wait, that's not reasonable. That just means basically you're impatient. That is what I'm saying, okay? And whenever you buy a home, you'll save up like 10% for a down payment, 20% preferably, but that takes time to do it, right? Before you buy a home, I believe you should be able to pay off your debts first, be debt-free first, have a emergency account first. That takes time. Everything in life has a process, right? So the process allows you to do the things you actually want in a reasonable, safe way. If you skip the process and you go right into what you want, there are consequences and you will be liable for them. It's just a normal rule. It's a law of life. You got to deal with that, okay? Now, that is it for this video. That's what will help me a ton if I watched this video a long time ago, because I skipped a lot of processes. I can't lie. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified, and comment down below process, so I know you made it all the way to the end of the video. Up here is another video. Over here is my face. Click subscribe. And as always, long-term team officially out. All right, that's it. Peace. Stop skipping the process.